Oxford Read and Discover. Level 5. Medicine, Then and Now. By Louise and Richard Spilsbury. Read by Becca Stewart. Published and copyright Oxford University Press, 2011. Introduction. Today, when we have a headache or a fever, we can take medicine to make us well. When we go to hospital, doctors use medicine to help to make us well. In the past, medicine was different from what it is like today. Have you ever been ill? Have you ever been to hospital? What types of medicine have you used? Do you know what medicine was like in the past?
Discover!
Now read and discover more about medicine in the past and medicine today. Chapter 1. Early Medicine. Thousands of years ago, people tried to heal broken bones, but they thought that only magic could cure them when they were ill. Healthy nomads. Early people were nomads. They didn't live in one place. They traveled around to look for food. They were healthy people. They lived outdoors most of the time, and they walked and ran a lot. They hunted animals and ate the meat when it was still fresh. They usually ate plants on the same day that they picked them. People used mud to heal broken bones. If they broke an arm or a leg, they put wet mud on it. Then the mud became dry and hard, and it stopped the arm or leg moving so that the bone inside could heal. Magic. Early people believed that they got ill because evil spirits were inside them. Many people had amulets, things that people think are lucky. They hoped that their amulets would stop them being ill. People cared for each other when they were ill. A shaman was a man or woman who sang songs, danced, and did magic spells to make people well. Many people believed that these magic spells worked. In some places today, people visit a shaman for help when they are ill. Medicines made from plants. When early people tasted plants to test which ones were safe to eat, they also discovered plants that cured illness and fever. These plants were the first medicines. One of the oldest books about medicines made from plants was written in China more than 4,000 years ago. Most early medicines were made from parts of plants, like flowers. People ate the plant parts, or they made them into drinks. Sometimes they made the plant parts into lotions to put on their body. Today, many people use medicines made from plants. For example, people use lotions made from aloe vera plants to make sore skin feel better. Ancient Egyptian doctors. We know about medicine in ancient Egypt because ancient Egyptians wrote about their world. They cut words into walls and wrote on a type of paper. We know that ancient Egyptians used magic spells to cure people, but they also had the first doctors. These doctors made medicines from plants, and they were good at putting bandages on wounds. They also used honey to help wounds to heal. This was a good idea. Even today, doctors put honey on wounds because it helps wounds to heal quickly. Chapter 2. Doctors and Ideas. When we go to a doctor, we ask, "What is wrong with me?" Doctors have always had different ideas about how to diagnose and treat people. Ayurvedic medicine. Ayurvedic medicine started in India about 3,000 years ago. Ayurvedic doctors ask a patient about their life, how they live, what they eat, and how they feel. To make people well and to prevent illness, Ayurvedic doctors tell people what foods to eat and what exercise to do. They also give people medicines made from plants, and they show them how to do yoga. Today, many people around the world use Ayurvedic medicine. Acupuncture. Acupuncture is a type of medicine that people have used for thousands of years in China, Japan, and Korea. Today, people use acupuncture in many places around the world. Acupuncture doctors put thin needles into a patient's body at special places called acupuncture points. The needles stay in the body for up to 30 minutes. Then the doctor takes them out. No one really knows how acupuncture works, but people often use it to treat backache, toothache, and headaches, and to stop people feeling ill.
Discover.
In China, some doctors use acupuncture on their patients during surgery. The patients aren't asleep, but they feel no pain. Ancient Greeks. About 2,500 years ago, in ancient Greece, many people believed that evil spirits or angry gods made them ill. Hippocrates was a Greek doctor and a teacher. He believed that people became ill because there was something wrong with their body. He told doctors to watch patients and to think about their illnesses. Doctors wrote down what they learned. They made medicines from plants, and they wrote about which medicines worked. Soon, doctors started to understand different illnesses. To prevent illness, they told people to eat good food, to rest often, and to do exercise.
Discover.
The Olympic Games began because Greek doctors believed that doing sport helped people to stay healthy. Ancient Romans. Ancient Roman doctors learned that being dirty and drinking dirty water could make people ill. To prevent illness, ancient Romans built baths and toilets for lots of people to use. At the baths, there were big pools like swimming pools. Every day, Romans went to the baths to wash and to meet friends. In some places, Romans built giant bridges called aqueducts that brought water to cities from the high hills. This gave people clean water that they could drink and use. Romans also built pipes to take waste away from the cities, to keep the cities clean. Chapter 3. Hospitals and Surgery. Today, some people go to hospital to get well when they are ill. In the past, some hospitals were so bad that they made ill people worse. Hospitals in the past. From about 1,000 years ago in Europe, monks and nuns cared for patients in hospitals. They weren't doctors or nurses, and they didn't cure the patients. They gave patients food and a bed, and they said prayers with them. The worst disease at this time was the plague. Monks and nuns cared for many patients who had the plague because the patients had to stay in hospital until they died. The plague killed millions of people in Europe and in Asia. From about 1,000 years ago in the Middle East, there were many hospitals. There were lots of doctors and nurses to care for the patients, and they made medicines for the patients too. Doctors treated everyone who came there, and they taught new doctors and nurses about diseases. These hospitals had different wards for different diseases. There were also pools and fountains because doctors believed that the sound of moving water helped patients to rest.
Discover.
Some hospitals in the Middle East had musicians and singers. They tried to make patients happy. Early surgery. Surgery is when doctors called surgeons cut open a person's body to take out, repair, or replace parts. From about 1,000 years ago, barbers started to do surgery. People could go to barber shops where the barbers cut hair. The barbers also pulled out sore teeth, treated wounds from fights, and cut off arms or legs that were badly wounded.
Discover.
In the past, barber shops had a red and white pole outside. The red and white stripes were a symbol for blood and bandages. Anesthetics. From about 1,000 years ago, doctors in the Middle East started to make anesthetics. Anesthetics are drugs that stop a person feeling pain. Before anesthetics, people felt a lot of pain when they had surgery. Doctors made early anesthetics from plants. They made some plants into medicines for patients to put into their mouth. This stopped the pain when a barber pulled a tooth out. Later, new anesthetics made patients go to sleep before surgery. When they woke up, the surgery was done. Chapter 4. Understanding the Body. Doctors have to understand how the body works so that they can make people well. Understanding the body also helps doctors to cure more diseases. Looking inside the body. Early doctors were not allowed to cut open dead people to look inside their body. An ancient Roman doctor called Galen learned some things by dissecting animals, but he made mistakes. He thought a person's jaw had 2 bones, like a dog's jaw. From 1540, scientists started to dissect people's bodies. Leonardo da Vinci was a famous artist who dissected human bodies. He drew very clear pictures of what he saw. Helping patients. Ambroise Paré was a surgeon in France about 450 years ago. At this time, many patients died after surgery because they lost a lot of blood. Ambroise Paré learned to tie blood vessels after he cut off a wounded hand, arm, or leg. This stopped patients bleeding too much, and it stopped many of them dying. Ambroise Paré also made the first artificial hands, arms, and legs for patients. He wrote books about his ideas. These books helped other surgeons to become better at their jobs. How the heart works. In Egypt about 760 years ago, a famous doctor called Ibn al-Nafis studied the heart. He discovered that it moves blood around the body. He also discovered that blood travels from one side of the heart to the other side by moving through the lungs. In the lungs, the blood mixes with air. Blood leaves the heart through blood vessels called arteries, and it travels back to the heart through blood vessels called veins. In 1628, a British scientist called William Harvey wrote a book about this.
Discover.
There are about 160,000 kilometers of blood vessels in the body. Microscopes. A microscope is a machine that magnifies very small things. It makes them look bigger so that people can see them. In about 1640, scientists started to use microscopes to learn about the body. A Dutch scientist called Anton van Leeuwenhoek saw capillaries through a microscope. Capillaries are tiny blood vessels that connect arteries and veins. Anton van Leeuwenhoek also used his microscope to look at some plaque that he took from between his teeth. He was surprised to see tiny living things in it. These tiny living things were bacteria. Many years later, doctors understood that some bacteria could make people ill. Chapter 5. Finding Cures. Since 1750, doctors have discovered cures for many diseases. They have also learned how to prevent some viruses and bacteria from making people ill. Vaccines in the past. Vaccines are medicines that teach a person's body how to stop a disease in the future. Smallpox is a disease that killed millions of people. In the past, doctors in Asia and Africa put smallpox scabs up a healthy person's nose to give them a weak smallpox disease. This worked as a vaccine on some people, but it killed others. In 1796, a British doctor called Edward Jenner made smallpox vaccines from cowpox, a disease that cows had. His vaccine stopped thousands of people dying from smallpox. Vaccines today. Today, doctors and nurses inject vaccines. They use a needle to put the vaccine into a person's arm or another part of their body. The vaccine is a weak type of a virus or bacteria. When a vaccine is inside the body starts to make antibodies to attack the vaccine. Antibodies are substances in the blood that can kill viruses and bacteria. When the body has learned how to make the antibodies, it's ready to kill viruses or bacteria when they get inside the body. This prevents the person getting that disease in the future. Bacteria and disease. In 1864, a French scientist called Louis Pasteur discovered that bacteria in the air could cause disease. Then he had the idea that you could prevent disease by stopping bacteria getting into the body. A British surgeon called Joseph Lister used Louis Pasteur's idea to make the first antiseptics. Antiseptics were substances that could kill bacteria on tools used in surgery. They could also kill bacteria that make wounds become infected. This stopped many people dying after they had surgery.
Discover.
When we touch things, we get bacteria on our hands that can make us ill. The best way to prevent infections is to wash our hands often. Penicillin. Penicillin was the world's first antibiotic. Antibiotics are drugs that can cure illnesses caused by bacteria. Before penicillin, people could die from a small wound in their skin if bacteria made the wound become infected. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin in 1928, but two other scientists, Howard Florey and Ernst Chain, tested penicillin to find out if it was safe to use. They also made penicillin that they could inject. Penicillin helped thousands of wounded soldiers during World War II, between 1939 and 1945. Since that time, penicillin has saved the lives of millions of people. Chapter 6. Medicine Today. Today, people can use many different types of medicine. These medicines treat or cure many different types of illness and disease. Many different medicines. People buy some medicines from a pharmacy, like pills to cure a headache or a sore throat. Some medicines can only be prescribed or given to you by a doctor. Today, there are medicines that cure diseases that spread quickly, and there are medicines that treat diseases that stay with people all their life. There are also medicines that help surgeons. When surgeons replace a heart or another part of the body, medicines stop the patient's body killing the new part. Traditional medicines. In many places around the world, people use mostly traditional medicines. Traditional medicines are medicines that people have used for hundreds of years or longer. Traditional medicines are made from plants and from animals like insects. For example, most people in Africa use traditional medicines, and a lot of people in Asia do too. In some places, people use traditional medicines because they don't live near a hospital or because traditional medicines are cheap. In other places, people use both traditional medicines and medicines that are made by scientists in laboratories. Making medicines. The medicines that are made in laboratories and factories are often copies of medicines made from plants. Malaria is a disease that causes fever and can kill people. People can get it when an insect called a mosquito bites them. To cure malaria, people first made a medicine from quinine. Quinine is a substance that comes from a rainforest tree. Then scientists started to make copies of this medicine in a laboratory. Today, quinine drugs are made without plants.
Discover.
Thousands of medicines have been made from rainforest plants. If people cut down rainforests, we will lose plants that could make more medicines. Testing medicines. Scientists discover thousands of new drugs every year. They test all new drugs to see if they work and to find out if they are safe for people to use. Scientists also test drugs to find out how much is safe for patients to take. Medicines are tested very carefully in laboratories. Then they are tested on people. Drug companies pay scientists to make new drugs and to test new drugs. And doing these things can take a very long time. That's why some drugs are very expensive. Chapter 7. Medical Machines. Doctors and nurses give people medicine, and they use many different types of machine to diagnose diseases. They also use machines in surgery, and they use machines to take people to hospital. Ambulances. An ambulance is a vehicle that takes people to hospital when they are ill or wounded. Many ambulances carry things like bandages and drugs that can be used to treat patients on the way to hospital. Ambulances have flashing lights, and they make sounds to tell other drivers to get out of the way, like police cars do. In some places, there are air ambulances too. X-ray machines and scanning machines. In hospitals, doctors use machines to look inside a patient's body. This helps doctors to diagnose what is wrong with a patient so that they know how to treat them. If someone breaks a bone in their body, doctors can take an X-ray picture of it. X-ray machines look inside a person and make pictures of the hard parts of their body, like their bones and teeth. Scanning machines can take pictures of the soft parts inside a person's body, like their heart and brain. Doctors also use scanning machines to look inside a mother's body to see if her baby is healthy. Surgery today. Today, some surgeons watch television when they do operations. Surgeons do this when they do keyhole surgery. First, they cut a small hole in a part of a patient's body. Then they put a tiny camera into the hole. The camera shows on a television screen what is inside the patient's body. Surgeons do the operation using long, thin tools that go into the body through different holes. During the operation, surgeons watch what is happening on the television screen. This type of surgery causes patients less pain, and they get well more quickly. Machines that save lives. Some machines keep patients alive. Some people use a kidney dialysis machine. Kidneys are parts of the body that keep the blood clean. If someone's kidney doesn't work, they can die. A kidney dialysis machine slowly takes out some blood, cleans it, and then puts it back inside the body again. Some people have a heart that doesn't work well. A pacemaker is a machine that goes inside a patient's body. It makes their heart work better and keeps them well. Some babies and very young children have pacemakers. Chapter 8. Medicine in the future. Medicine is very different today from how it was in the past. What will medicine be like in the future? Living longer. Medicine has helped people to live longer. In 1900, most people only lived to be about 45 years old. Today, people in many parts of the world live 30 years longer than they did in 1900. Some people say that by 2060, many people will live to be 100 years old. New medicines. In the future, scientists will discover new medicines. For example, some drug companies are trying to grow plants with vaccines that people can eat. It's expensive to use vaccines that doctors and nurses have to inject. Vaccines that people can eat will be cheaper and much easier to use. For example, bananas that contain vaccines could prevent many children dying of diseases that can be cured. Medicines for everyone. In some places in the world, even today, many people die from diseases that can be cured. This is usually because they don't have enough money to buy the medicines that they need. For example, about 1 million people die from malaria every year. In 2009, one of the world's biggest drug companies started to sell cheap medicines to some countries. In the future, hopefully everyone will get the medicines that they need. This could happen if more drug companies sell cheap medicines to poor people. New ideas. Some hospitals use robot doctors with computer screens and cameras so that doctors and patients can talk to other doctors at other hospitals. Surgeons also use robots to help them to do operations. In the future, doctors will also use tiny robots called nanobots. Doctors will inject nanobots into a patient's blood so that the nanobots can move around inside the patient's body and discover what is wrong. In the future, maybe robot surgeons will do operations. Now, scientists are also developing medicines to help people to grow new fingers and other body parts when they are wounded. There will be more surprises and new discoveries in medicine in the future. Staying healthy. The best way to stay well is to stay healthy. Try to have a healthy diet and drink 8 glasses of water every day, and more when it's hot. Keep clean. Take a shower often. Brush your teeth every day and wash your hands after going to the toilet and before you eat. Most of us know that exercise helps us to stay healthy. But did you know that people do more exercise if they do a sport that they like or that they can do with friends? What do you do to stay healthy?